I'm not as animated or talking with my hands as much in this video, which is probably a good thing, to be honest, but it's because Spectrum's internet sucks and I can't print anything, so I have to read my notes from my laptop. So, in an effort to not drop my laptop on the ground, which would make me cry, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more subdued physically. Anyways, oh gosh. Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Weird Wednesday video. Today I'm going to be ranking all of Rob Zombie's movies. This wasn't really an official request or suggestion from a patron, but it is from a patron. It's from Melissa. A little Skype chat that we have. If you're a patron, she suggested it and I thought it was a really good suggestion, so I just took it. So speaking of patrons though, I want to say thank you to all my creepy patron peeps for your support of my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description. All right, so I'm gonna do this list from least favorite to most favorite, and at the very end I'll put a list up so you can see, where everything was, just a little refresher. Right, so let's get into this. Number 6, which is Halloween 2, or H2 I think as it's called sometimes, came out in 2009. Probably said enough about this one in my Halloween franchise ranking video. It was in part 2, which I will link up here if you didn't check it out and you want to. I didn't mind so much the fact that Laurie was up in this movie. As I mentioned before, I think it makes sense for the character. I wasn't a fan, however, of the visions Michael was having of his mother. I wasn't so much a fan of that. I've said before that I don't mind the backstory in Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. This one, H2, just in my opinion, took it too far. It went farther than I wanted it to go, and I was just kind of like, eh. And as I talked about in my Halloween franchise ranking video, I know a lot of other people in the community also feel this way. We kind of just felt maybe a little bit annoyed that Michael's mom was in this one, seeing as she died in the first one, and the visions almost just kind of felt like a way for Rob Zombie to have his wife in the movie, and it just felt, at least to me, it didn't feel genuine. I didn't feel like her character needed to be there. But it's whatever. Anyways though, number 5 is The Lords of Salem, which came out in 2012. This is one I think that, same with Halloween 2, that I think almost everybody agrees that we dislike this, and truly the people that like Halloween 2 and The Lords of Salem are the minority in the community, I think. Not that that's a bad thing, I'm just pointing out I think these two movies in particular, a lot of people agree on not liking as much. I do have to say though, Lords of Salem does grow on me little by little every time I've watched it. But just compared to all the other movies that I'm gonna talk about here in a minute, I can't foresee me ever liking the Lords of Salem more than I like the other ones that I'm gonna get into soon. But you never know, things could change. The main thing that I really dislike about the movie is the character Heidi, and it's the character, not the performance or anything. It's the character. I found her frustrating, but not in a good way. I mostly found her annoying and just, I don't know, I didn't like the character, and her being the main character, we're following that character throughout the movie, so it's just I don't know, I just didn't like the character, wasn't a fan of the character. Like the witchy stuff though, I really wish Rob Zombie would do more witchy type things. I really liked that. The music. in this one I actually really do like. It's haunting and it sets the tone for the witchy stuff really well, which is another like part of the reason why I kind of want him to do more witchy type things. I like that. Number 4 on my list is Rob Zombie's Halloween, which came out in 2007. Again, I talked about this a lot in my ranking video. I definitely don't hate this movie. I know there are a lot of people that really, really dislike this one. I personally think that the added backstory to Michael Myers was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I think it made sense. And again, like I said in that previous video, I think this backstory makes a hell of a lot more sense than the Thorn cult stuff. So if, you know, Michael Myers has to have a backstory, which he doesn't technically, but if he has to have a backstory, it'd be much quicker to choose Rob Zombie than any other one. I think it was just enough, and that's like I said about Halloween too. Like, I think the backstory with like the visions and stuff just went too far. I think what he did in his original remake of Halloween was perfect. I think he should have left it at that. And I've said it once, I've said it a million times, I will continue to say it a million bajillion more times. Daeg Faeric was amazing as young Michael. He was terrifying and I loved it, and I think he did a really good job. So yeah. Number 3 on my list is The Devil's Rejects, which came out in 2005. I don't know if this one is controversial to put at the number 3 spot. I could be wrong in assuming this, but I feel like this is most people's favorite Rob Zombie movie. Maybe, I could be very wrong on that. I'm just judging based on like what I hear in the community whenever a conversation about Rob Zombie's films comes up. Don't let the placement in the list fool you though. Like, I love this movie. As a sequel, I feel like it does surpass the first installment for a lot of people. Again, I could be judging this wrong. I just feel like a lot of people like, compared to House of a Thousand Corpses, I think a lot of people like Devil's Rejects more. It's a really good sequel, I gotta say. Like, if we're just talking horror sequels, it's one of my favorite sequels out there. I think it's a really good sequel. And that seems like a video idea. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about my favorite horror sequels. I mean, it's got iconic lines.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
It's got iconic kills. And it's got an iconic cast.
What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns?
The stellar movie. I love this movie. A second on my list is 31. This one, I feel like out of all of his movies so far, is Rob Zombie's biggest like hit or miss one. Like, I don't think that so many people, I love how I'm judging like each one. I'm trying to gauge like how the community feels about it. I don't know why I'm doing that for this. I love the slasher kind of concept that this one had. I feel like this is the only other one besides Lords of Salem that really focuses, like makes the story about the victims more. I know that's not a new concept, so many horror movies do that, but for Rob Zombie, usually his focus, like in House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, his focus is more on the villains. Halloween, I feel like, is split pretty 50-50. I feel like he tends to focus more on the bad characters a lot, and there's still focus on the bad characters in 31 as well, but I liked how the story was actually centered around like victim types as opposed to being centered around the bad guys. At least like story-wise, he's branching out a little bit. I know one of his biggest criticisms from people in the community is that, you know, he's kind of like a one-note director where they all feel the same, which I totally understand. I actually get that, and I think it's just more a thing like if you like his style, you just like his movies because, you know, it's the same style every time. So I personally don't mind it, but I know a lot of other people do, which is fine. You know, I like how the movie also, it reminds me of that short story that I don't know if any of you guys also had to read it in school, but I had to read it in school. It's The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. I liked how this movie like was kind of like a play on that. If you didn't read the short story, in short, it's like this really wealthy man who was a big game hunter, but then he grew bored of that. So he like has this island and he like literally sets up this like trap for ships to come in, get shipwrecked on the island, and then he hunts the people. So I liked how this movie, like, it felt like kind of a play on that. I don't know if that was intentionally done, but I liked the relation to that. Richard Brake as Doomhead, who I think everyone can agree it was a really good performance, especially that opening monologue. Like, holy shit, talk about like making me just like rooted to my seat and invested in the movie right from the get-go. And this is probably a controversial opinion. Sheri Moon's character, Charlie, is actually my favorite character that she's ever played. I know. I feel like I'm gonna get so much shit for saying that because I know everybody loves her as Baby. And I also love her as Baby, but I just really like her character in this movie. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that House of a Thousand Corpses is in my #1 spot in terms of Rob Zombie movies. Actually in my top, like if you go to my Letterboxd, it's in my top 4. I think they make you put down 4 favorite movies ever. It's just one of my favorites. I love the cast, obviously. I love the style, obviously. And I also love how the movie kind of starts off pretty normal. Like for a horror movie, like a group of kids like get lost and they run into the wrong people. That's not like an uncommon thing in horror. So it starts off pretty normal. And then throughout the course of the movie, it just devolves in the best way into this just like psychedelic, gonzo-y, music video looking, just beautiful mess. And I love it. It's like trippy and gritty and dirty and everything that I think of when I think of Rob Zombie. I think of that movie. I think of the look of that movie, and that's just like his style, and I like it. All right, so there you have it. That is my ranking of Rob Zombie's movies so far. I guess we'll have to adjust that a little bit when 3 from Hell comes out this next year, which I'm really excited for. So let me know in the comments section what your ranking would be, or at least of the movies that you've seen of his, if you haven't seen all of his. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday, and you can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video or go live, even though it doesn't always work. And just because it doesn't always work, I will remind you here that Emma, aka Spooky Astronauts, and I are going live this coming Friday on this channel, my channel, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Friday for Does This Offend You? And we are talking about body horror with the movies Human Centipede and Tusk. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!